Hey guys, I'm going to use this video to help walk you through section 2 of our book. We're going to do power outline notes just like we did for section 1, and remember you've already got that example in your notebook if you need to look back to it to remember how to do it. But I am going to show you the paragraphs of the book in this video, and I'm going to create the outline on the video so you'll know exactly what to do. Remember that if you don't feel like you need this video, then you don't have to use it, but if you do, it's here, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. If you're looking at your book, then you'll notice at the top it says section 2, the rise of Sumer, okay? Let's go ahead and add that to our power outline notes. Now we are starting a new set, so we're not adding to the power outline that we've already done. We're going to start a new outline. Okay, so you'll want to go to a new, fresh, clean page for this. And at the top of your page, go ahead and put power 1. Okay. And our power 1 is the rise of Sumer. That's our main title of our section, and that's our highest power in our outline notes. Let's read the "If You Lived There" just to kind of get you thinking before we get started. It says, "You are a crafter living in one of the cities of Sumer. Thick walls surround and protect your city so you feel safe from the armies of other city-states. But you and your neighbors are fearful of other beings. The many gods and spirits that you have been taught are everywhere. They can bring illness or sandstorms or bad luck. How might you protect yourself from gods and spirits?" So we know this chapter is talking about the rise of Sumer. It's the rise of a new civilization here in Mesopotamia where we've been learning about. And we know it's probably going to talk about their religion a little bit, okay? You don't have to write anything for that paragraph on your power outline notes. We're going to go ahead and go on to the next section on that page, and we see here that we come to a subtitle called An Advanced Society. We're going to go ahead and add that to our power outline notes, and that is going to be a power 2. Remember, when we do our power 2, we are not going to put it in line with our 1, okay? See if I can figure out how to do it here. Okay, I figured it out. So our power 2 is going to be an advanced society. It's that subheading that we just read on that page. And remember, we're not going to put our 2 underneath our 1. Okay, we're going to indent our 2 just a little bit so we can set it apart. We know that that's a new section underneath this main title. So we're going to look at an advanced society. In southern Mesopotamia, a people known as the Sumerians developed the world's first civilization. No one knows where they came from or when they moved into the region. All we know is that by 3000 BC, several 100,000 Sumerians had settled in Mesopotamia in a land they called Sumer. There they built an advanced society. We're going to use the 2-word strategy here that we've been using to pick out 2 important words and to help us kind of summarize that paragraph and add that to our power notes. One that I would probably definitely choose is Sumerians and maybe civilization. Okay, so I'm going to go to my power notes, and underneath my 2, I'm going to make a bullet or a star, whatever it is that you've been using. And remember, when you're putting a point underneath a power, you want your bullet or your star, whatever it is that you're using, to be right underneath there. Okay, we're not going to bring it back over here underneath our 1. This is a point about an advanced society. So what we need to know out of that paragraph is that the Sumerians settled in Mesopotamia, and created the first civilization. And there are those two words that I picked out, Sumerians and civilization. Okay? So we talked about people settling in Mesopotamia. We've already talked about that. We talked about why they settled there, the rivers, all that kind of stuff. The name of the group of people, so this is new information, were the Sumerians. Okay? So it's the same people that we've already talked about. Now we're just giving them a name, and we're giving their society a name, and it was called Sumer. As you read on in your book, you'll come to another subheading here. This one does not look like our last one, so this is going to become our power 3. So I'm going to come underneath my 2. I'm going to indent just a little bit so they're not directly lined up. And I'm going to go ahead and write my title, The City-States of Sumer. You may notice that I also underlined my titles. You don't have to do that, remember, but you can if you want to. So let's go back and read that paragraph underneath that subheading and pick out what's important. Most people in Sumer were farmers. They lived mainly in rural or countryside areas. The centers of Sumerian society, however, were the urban or city areas. The first cities in Sumer had about 10,000 residents. Over time, the cities grew. Historians think that by 2000 BC, some of Sumer's largest cities had more than 100,000 residents. Okay, so we got to pick out what's important. This 10,000 residents is definitely not important. Those are little details. 2000 BC, that's a little detail. I think one of the words that sticks out to me is cities here, because we see it repeated quite a bit. And centers, because the cities were the center of Sumerian society. And we talked last time about the development of those cities as people started to settle and do different jobs. Then they started to develop larger projects and governments, and then they needed cities. Okay, so let's go back to our power outlines, and I'm just going to be real brief here. And I'm going to say that cities were the center of Sumerian society. Or the centers of Sumerian society. That's basically what that paragraph tells us. Now let's go back and read the next one. As a result, the basic political unit of Sumer combined two parts. This unit was the city-state. A city-state consisted of a central city and all the countryside around it. The amount of farmland controlled by a city-state depended on its military strength. Stronger city-states controlled larger areas. I think city-state is definitely important here, and it's definitely important that you know that that's a city and all the countryside around it. So you can think of Pilot Mountain. You've got the town of Pilot Mountain where your grocery store and your McDonald's and your Wendy's and your banks and all those things are. But then some of you who do not live inside of that town probably also have a Pilot Mountain address, and you may live on the outskirts of town or in the more country or rural area. In Sumer, the entire Pilot Mountain with the town and the surrounding countryside would have been considered a city-state. So that's kind of an illustration for you there. So I'm going to choose city-state out of this paragraph, and I'm going to choose military strength, because I think that that's important to know that city-states were different sizes, and that largely depended on their military. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my outline. And in parentheses, I'm going to put the definition of that word so that I'll have it. So city-states, which is a city and its surrounding countryside. Sizes depended on military strength. And you can see here I've got the two words that I chose. Now that messed up my whole format. There we go. Okay. And it looks like we've got some more paragraphs in that section, so let's keep going. City-states and Sumer fought each other to gain more farmland. As a result of these conflicts, the city-states built up strong armies. Sumerians also built strong, thick walls around their cities for protection. So for this paragraph, it's mainly talking about how they fought and kind of the result of that. So I'm going to choose conflicts and farmland. And I'm going to tell in my sentence kind of what this paragraph says that led to. So, city-states had conflicts over farmland, resulting in stronger armies and big walls. So you can tell here they were constantly fighting over who could control more land, because obviously if you could control more land, then you had more money, more resources, things like that. But you couldn't just go in and take over somebody's land without a fight. So they had to develop pretty strong armies to be able to do that. And they also wanted some protection from people coming in and taking over their land. So they built big walls around their cities. We've got one more paragraph here. Individual city-states gained and lost power over time. By 3500 BC, a city-state known as Kish had become quite powerful. Over the next 1,000 years, the city-states of Uruk and fought for dominance. One of Uruk's kings, known as Gilgamesh, became a legendary figure in Sumerian literature. You may have heard that name before. So this one, I think that first sentence pretty much sums that up. We don't want these little details in here. We don't need to know these city-state names. But I do think it's important that we know that individual city-states gained and lost power over time. So let's just put that. Okay. And as you look on in your book, you'll see that we now come to a new subheading. Okay, this is going to be our next Power 3 in our Power Outline notes, but I'm going to create a new video. So you'll just need to go to the next video on your haiku page to continue to add to your Power Outline notes. Okay?